Monica Harris stepped out of her car with a quiet sigh of relief. It had been a long drive, the kind that makes a person feel both tired and hopeful at the same time. She had spent the last several months traveling across different states, meeting investors, touring new property locations, and handling endless calls about her expanding hotel chain. Today, she decided to return to one of her favorite boutique hotels, a property she had worked hard to restore and open 2 years earlier. She had not visited in a while, and she wanted to see the place with her own eyes instead of reading reports and emails. There was something special about this hotel. It was the first one she had bought on her own, long before her name had become known in the hospitality world. The building had once been an old, forgotten structure with peeling paint and broken windows. Many people had told her it wasn't worth saving, but Monica, who had always believed in looking beyond the surface, saw what others didn't. She saw charm, potential, and a future. She restored it room by room, piece by piece, until it became a warm, inviting place for guests. This property carried her heart in its walls, which was why she chose to visit unannounced. She wanted to see how well the staff treated guests when they didn't know the owner was watching. She walked toward the front entrance with slow, relaxed steps, enjoying the soft evening breeze. She wore jeans, a plain sweatshirt, and comfortable shoes. Her hair was tied back in a simple ponytail because she had not planned a formal visit. She just wanted to blend in as a regular guest. She hoped to watch how customers were greeted, how problems were handled, and whether her staff still carried the same friendly energy she remembered. As she pushed the glass door open, a cool wave of air brushed against her face. The lobby looked beautiful at first glance. The tall indoor plants stood neatly in the corners. The soft yellow lights gave the room a gentle glow, and the couches were arranged in a cozy layout. A peaceful song played quietly in the background, creating a calm atmosphere. It made Monica feel proud. At least the design and decoration were still in good shape. But the moment she stepped inside, she sensed something was off. Usually, someone at the front desk would greet every guest with a warm smile, or at least a friendly, "Welcome in." She used to make sure that was part of the hotel culture. Yet today, there was no greeting. No smile, not even eye contact. 2 employees were standing behind the front desk. One was typing on a computer with a bored expression, and the other was scrolling on a phone, leaning slightly against the counter, as if nothing around them mattered. They looked up briefly when Monica entered, then quickly looked away, as though she were interrupting something important. She wasn't dressed in fancy clothes, but she didn't expect that to matter. Every guest, no matter what they looked like, deserved good service. She walked toward the counter with a polite smile. Her footsteps echoed softly across the polished floor, yet neither employee straightened their posture or prepared to assist her. She reached the desk and stood patiently, waiting to be acknowledged. A moment passed, then another. The employee typing on the computer finally looked up and raised an eyebrow, as if surprised she was still standing there. "Hello," Monica said gently. "I'd like to book a room for tonight." The receptionist glanced at her for a brief second, then tapped a few keys on the keyboard without much interest. His tone was flat, without warmth or courtesy. "We're fully booked." "We're fully booked." Monica blinked lightly, a bit confused. She knew for a fact that the hotel was nowhere near full. She had read the occupancy numbers earlier in the day. But she gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there had been last-minute reservations. Maybe a large group had arrived unexpectedly. She decided to ask kindly, "Oh, really? Are you sure? I don't mind any room type." The receptionist exhaled, sounding impatient. "No rooms available," he repeated, as if the conversation already bored him. Monica nodded slowly, keeping her calm. She knew from years of experience that how staff behaved toward guests said a lot about the hotel's management. She tried once more, gently. "Could you check again, please? Even a small room is fine." The second employee, the one with the phone, finally looked up. She gave Monica a quick look from head to toe, not in a welcoming way but in a dismissive manner. Then she muttered, "We don't have anything open tonight. You should probably try somewhere else." There was no smile, no apology, No attempt to offer helpful information. Monica felt a soft pinch in her heart. Not anger, just disappointment. This was her hotel. Her dream. A place she had built with care and hope. And now, she was being treated like an inconvenience. She stayed composed. "Is there a manager available?" she asked, still friendly. The receptionist shrugged. "He's busy." Monica's eyebrows lifted just a little. She didn't want to make assumptions, but she could clearly sense the lack of proper training, professionalism, and kindness. It wasn't just carelessness. It was a pattern of behavior that guests should never experience. She decided not to reveal her identity yet. Instead, she thanked them quietly, even though they hadn't shown her any courtesy. She stepped away from the desk and headed back toward the exit. As she walked, she glanced around the lobby again. It still looked charming and peaceful on the outside, but now she wondered how long the inner quality had been fading without her noticing. The door closed behind her, and she stood outside for a moment, thinking. The hotel meant so much to her, and seeing it handled with such little care felt like watching something precious slip away. She took a deep breath and walked toward her car. She knew she needed to check things more closely, really see what was happening behind the scenes. She opened the car door, sat inside, and rested her hands on the steering wheel. Her mind was calm but alert. She wasn't a person who made decisions out of emotion. She believed in facts, fairness, and understanding the full situation before taking action. So she pulled out her laptop and turned it on. If the staff truly believed the hotel was full, she wanted to see the actual numbers. With a few clicks, she logged into the hotel's reservation system using her owner credentials. The loading screen lasted only a second, and then the full dashboard appeared. She scanned the room availability list. There were empty rooms, several of them, enough for multiple guests. Enough for her. Enough to prove that the staff had not given her the truth. She leaned back in her seat and let out a slow breath. Something was very wrong, and now she had to find out how deep the issue went. Her short, simple visit had already revealed more than she expected, but what she didn't know yet was that the next few minutes would change everything. Monica sat in her car for a moment longer, staring at the bright screen of her laptop. The list of available rooms was still right in front of her. She refreshed the page twice just to be absolutely sure. Each time, the same information appeared. Plenty of open rooms, no full occupancy, no unexpected bookings, no reason at all for the front desk staff to turn her away. She closed her laptop gently and looked back at the hotel entrance through the windshield. The glass doors reflected the soft evening light, and from the outside, the hotel looked peaceful and inviting. Anyone driving by would think it was a pleasant place to stay, a place run with warmth and professionalism. But inside, something different was happening, something she could not ignore. She thought about the way the employees had looked at her, not as a guest, not even as a person worth greeting. It wasn't anger that filled her now, but a quiet sadness. She had spent years believing that kindness and respect were the pillars of good hospitality. Every team she trained had heard her say the same thing countless times. A guest may forget the room design, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Yet today, the team at her own hotel had made her feel unwelcome. They had made her feel invisible. And if they treated her like that, how were they treating everyone else? Monica wanted answers. She wasn't someone who rushed into decisions without understanding the full picture. So instead of walking back inside immediately, she opened her phone and dialed the number of her assistant general manager, Daniel. He wasn't working that shift, but he always responded quickly. He picked up after the second ring. "Good evening, Monica. Everything okay?" His voice was friendly, almost cheerful. He had no idea what had just happened. "I'm at the East Garden Hotel," she said calmly. "I came without notice. I wanted to check on the staff." There was a short pause. "Oh, that's good. How is everything there?" Monica looked again at the glass doors, remembering how the staff avoided eye contact and spoke to her with such a cold attitude. "I was told the hotel is fully booked," she said. Daniel sounded confused. "Fully booked? That doesn't sound right at all." Let me check. She listened as he typed on his end of the call. Papers shuffled. Keys clicked. A moment later, he spoke again. No, we're nowhere near full. Did they really tell you that? Yes, she said softly. Twice. A slow concern entered Daniel's voice. That's strange. There have been some complaints lately. Nothing major. Just guests saying they felt ignored, or that the front desk wasn't very helpful. I thought it was just a few small mistakes. But if this is happening to you, then it might be happening more often. Monica finished. Yes, Daniel agreed. Do you want me to come to the hotel right now? Monica thought for a second. She didn't want to make a scene, and she didn't want the staff to panic or behave differently because they suddenly knew she was the owner. No, she said. Not yet. I want to observe a little more. But I do need you to send me the last 2 weeks of customer service reports, internal notes, and incident logs. Right away, Daniel replied. Thank you, she said before hanging up. She leaned back in her seat, letting her eyes close for a moment. She wasn't upset. She was determined. This was her business, her brand, and she had worked too hard to let small cracks turn into unstoppable problems. She believed in fixing issues with clarity and fairness, but that required understanding everything. A notification pinged on her phone. Daniel had already sent the files. Monica opened them one by one. The reports didn't look terrible, but she could tell something was slipping. Guests mentioned slow service, lack of friendliness, and missing greetings at check-in. A few guests wrote that they felt the staff didn't seem interested in helping them. These weren't huge problems on their own, but together, they formed a clear pattern. She took a deep breath. This is not how my hotel should feel, she whispered to herself. She looked up again at the lobby through the glass doors. She could see the 2 front desk employees still standing there. One leaned over the counter, still scrolling on her phone. The other was typing something, though now he looked a bit more relaxed, almost too relaxed for someone working with guests. Monica knew she had a decision to make. She could walk away, review everything later, and come back with a more planned approach. Or she could act now, face the situation directly, and understand exactly what kind of experience guests were receiving. She chose the second option. She opened her car door and stepped out again. This time, she walked with purpose, not with anger, but with determination. Her footsteps were steady and calm as she crossed the small walkway leading to the hotel entrance. She walked inside again. The soft music was still playing, and the lights still gave the room a warm glow. Nothing had changed, but this time, Monica paid closer attention. A family was trying to check in at the far side of the counter. They looked tired, maybe from traveling, and they had luggage with them. The mother and father were speaking politely, but the front desk employee from earlier, the one who had been scrolling, looked impatient. She barely smiled. She pointed to forms without explanation, and she sighed more than once while the family tried to understand the check-in process. Monica watched this quietly from a distance. She wanted to see everything for herself, not just hear about it. When the family finally walked away with their room key, they didn't look happy. They looked relieved, as though getting through the front desk felt like a chore. Monica stepped closer to the counter again. Both employees looked up this time. For a second, surprise flashed in their eyes. They clearly recognized her from earlier. Maybe they thought she was a guest returning with more questions. Hello again, Monica said calmly. The receptionist straightened slightly. Can we help you? She gave a gentle smile, though her eyes held a seriousness they didn't notice yet. Earlier, you told me the hotel was fully booked. Are you sure about that? The receptionist looked uncomfortable. He hesitated before answering. Yes. There aren't any rooms left tonight. Monica looked him directly in the eyes, kind but firm. Is that the truth? He nodded, though his expression wavered. The second employee avoided eye contact altogether. Something inside Monica settled. She had enough information now. Enough to move forward. Enough to take the next step. She stepped back slightly, lifted her phone, and opened a video call to Daniel and 2 senior executives. When they appeared on the screen, The two front desk employees looked confused. Monica lowered the phone so the staff couldn't see it clearly, and she spoke again in her calm voice. "I'm going to ask you one more time," she said softly. "Are you sure there are no rooms available?" Both employees repeated their earlier answer. That was all Monica needed. In that moment, everything became clear. The attitude, the carelessness, the dishonesty, and the lack of proper training. She had come here hoping to feel proud of her team. Instead, she felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She took a deep breath and prepared to reveal the truth: who she was, what she knew, and why everything they had said tonight mattered more than they realized. What happened next would change the entire evening, and it would happen in just a few minutes. Monica stood at the counter, holding her phone at her side, keeping her voice calm and steady. The two employees still looked unsure of what to say, but neither of them seemed ready to change their answer. They repeated again that the hotel had no rooms, even though Monica had already confirmed the opposite on her laptop. She didn't correct them yet. She wanted to understand what was really happening behind the scenes. She took a gentle breath and stepped back. The lobby was still quiet, except for the soft music playing overhead. A couple walked through the front doors, looking around for the check-in area. They approached the counter, and Monica decided to watch rather than interrupt. This might tell her even more. The couple smiled politely, dragging small suitcases behind them. The employee who had been scrolling earlier looked up and gave them a brief nod. "Checking in?" the woman asked without much expression. "Yes. We should have a reservation under Evans," the man replied with a friendly tone. The employee typed on the computer slowly, looking more distracted than focused. Monica noticed how the couple kept a patient smile, hoping for helpful service. Instead, the employee looked at the screen and said, "Give me a minute." Without looking up again, the couple exchanged a small glance, still waiting politely. The process dragged on longer than it needed to. Monica knew the check-in system well. Finding a reservation should have taken 15 seconds, maybe 30 at most if the page was slow. But this employee acted as if she handled each step with little interest. Finally, she printed the room slip and handed it to the couple. There was no welcome, no explanation of hotel amenities, no friendly words. Just a quick, "Here you go, elevator's over there." Then, she returned to her phone, as if nothing else mattered. Monica felt a small ache inside her chest. She had always believed in creating a warm and caring environment for guests. A place where they felt valued and comfortable. Watching this interaction made it clear. Her hotel was losing that spirit. The friendly culture she worked so hard to build was fading, and it wasn't happening by accident. She knew she could not delay anymore. It was time to see the full truth. She tapped her phone screen, and the video call with Daniel and the two senior executives opened again. She held the phone up slightly, so only she could see the faces, not the staff standing in front of her. Daniel looked concerned, and the executives waited silently for her to speak. "Before I say anything," Monica whispered into the microphone, "I need you to check the internal staff reports for the last 30 days. Look for anything unusual. Response times, guest complaints, staff attendance, everything." Daniel nodded immediately and began searching. The senior executives started reviewing documents as well. Meanwhile, Monica lowered her phone again and turned her attention back to the lobby. She wanted to see how the employees behaved now that more guests were trickling in. A young woman approached the counter with a question about parking, and the reception staff answered without much kindness, giving short replies and pointing instead of guiding her. The young woman thanked them softly but looked slightly discouraged as she walked away. Moments later, Daniel's voice came through the call. "Monica, I found some things." She stepped a little away from the counter, far enough so the employees wouldn't overhear but close enough to keep watching. "What did you find?" she asked quietly. "It looks like the staff has been closing early on paperwork, leaving tasks unfinished, and skipping guest surveys. There are also notes about late check-ins being marked incorrectly. A few forms show quick answers that don't match guest comments." The second executive spoke next. "Some of these issues suggest they might be avoiding responsibilities, and the number of service-related complaints has gone up every week." Monica listened carefully. "What kinds of complaints?" Guests reported unfriendly service, slow help, and lack of attention, Daniel answered. Some said they felt unwelcome. Others said staff acted like they didn't want to be bothered. Monica closed her eyes briefly. She felt the weight of each word. This wasn't just one or two small mistakes. This was a growing pattern. Something had shifted in the hotel, something that went against everything she believed in. Is there anything else? She asked. One of the executives hesitated before replying. There are notes showing that some staff have been ignoring training updates, and others have not attended scheduled meetings. Monica felt a gentle sadness settle into her heart. She did not expect perfection, but she always believed in sincerity and effort. Running a hotel wasn't just a job, it was a service, a promise to treat people with care. Now, she was seeing signs of neglect in areas that used to reflect pride and professionalism. She lowered her phone slightly and looked at the front desk again. The two employees were chatting quietly now, unaware of the situation unfolding around them. They seemed relaxed, almost too relaxed for people responsible for managing guest experiences. Monica straightened her posture and spoke softly into her phone. Thank you. That's all I needed for now. Keep the call open. She walked slowly back toward the counter, her expression calm but firm. She wasn't angry. She wasn't rushed. She simply carried the quiet strength of someone who understood the truth and was ready to act on it. The receptionist noticed her approaching and adjusted his posture, as if preparing to repeat the same answer. The employee with the phone looked up as well, eyes slightly nervous now. Monica gave them a gentle smile. I have one more question, she said. They both nodded, waiting. If a guest walks in, she began softly, and your hotel has rooms available, what is the proper thing to do? The receptionist hesitated. Offer them a room? Yes, Monica said kindly. And what if they look tired, or unsure, or simply need help? What should the attitude be? The second employee looked uncomfortable. We're supposed to be welcoming. That's right, Monica replied. Every guest deserves respect. Every guest deserves kindness. She paused for a moment, letting her words settle in the air. Then she lifted her phone slightly, holding the screen outward just enough so they could see the names on the video call. Both employees leaned forward slightly. When they read the names on the call, their eyes widened. Confusion turned into worry. Monica spoke again, her voice calm and gentle. I am Monica Harris. I own this hotel. The silence that followed was almost still. The employees blinked, unsure how to react. Their mouths opened slightly, as though words were forming but not quite ready to come out. Monica continued, still kind but clear. I came here today as a regular guest. I wanted to see how guests are treated when no one knows I'm watching. I wanted to feel the same experience any traveler would feel. She took a quiet breath before finishing. And now I know. The employees looked at each other, their faces filled with sudden realization. They seemed to understand that everything they had done, every small gesture, every careless word, had been seen and remembered. Monica stood there calmly, her expression steady. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't show frustration. She simply allowed the truth to settle around them, clear and gentle. The next few minutes would bring even bigger changes. The next steps would define what kind of hotel this would become. And everything that followed began at this exact moment when the truth finally came to light. For a moment, the lobby felt completely still. The soft music continued to play. The warm lights continued to glow. And guests continued walking around, but the two front desk employees stood frozen. They had just heard something they never expected. The woman who had quietly asked for a room earlier, the one they dismissed without care, was actually the owner of the entire hotel. Monica watched their expressions gently. She didn't rush them. She didn't try to make them feel small. She simply waited, allowing them a moment to understand the truth. The receptionist was the first to react. His eyes widened slightly, and he straightened his posture quickly. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. as if unsure where to begin. The other employee held her phone tightly and looked down at the desk, suddenly nervous. Monica held her phone in one hand, and the video call with Daniel and the executives stayed open. They watched quietly, letting her lead the moment. She stepped a little closer to the counter, keeping her tone warm but clear. "I didn't tell you who I was earlier," she said softly. "I wanted to experience the hotel the way any guest would. I wanted to see how people are treated when they walk in for the first time." The receptionist swallowed. "Ma'am, we can explain." Monica lifted a gentle hand. "I'm not here for excuses. I only want honesty." He nodded quickly, understanding that she wasn't angry but she was serious. The second employee glanced up, her eyes nervous but still listening. Monica continued. "When I came in earlier, I felt something I never wanted a guest to feel in this hotel. I felt unwelcome. I felt ignored. I felt like my presence was a problem." The receptionist looked down at his hands. The second employee shifted uncomfortably, unable to meet Monica's eyes. "It wasn't what you said," Monica added gently. "It was how you said it. The tone, the attitude, the lack of care." She wasn't trying to embarrass them. She wasn't someone who believed in shaming people. She believed in truth, fairness, and responsibility. So she spoke with patience, but with firmness, because this moment mattered. The receptionist finally said, "We didn't know." Monica nodded. "That's exactly why this matters. You didn't know who I was, and you didn't treat me with kindness. That means other guests are being treated the same way." The second employee looked up suddenly. Her voice came out small. "We're sorry." Monica offered a small, kind smile. "I appreciate that, but sorry needs to be backed up by changed behavior." The employees nodded, still quiet, still unsure. Monica took a slow breath and brought her phone forward slightly. "I have my management team on the call right now. We've already reviewed guest reports, attendance logs, and service notes." The employees exchanged a quick glance, their faces showing worry. They could feel the seriousness of the situation now. "Over the last few weeks," Monica said carefully, "guest complaints have increased. The warm and welcoming experience we built is disappearing." She paused to let that sink in. "I want this hotel to be a place of kindness, a place where guests feel safe, respected, and valued. I want our staff to enjoy working here and to treat guests the same way they would treat someone they care about." She looked gently at both employees. But today, that didn't happen. The receptionist took a small breath. "We didn't mean to upset you." Monica nodded. "I believe that. I don't think you came to work hoping to make someone feel unwelcome. But choices matter. Attitude matters. And the way you treat people matters more than anything else." Her voice remained soft, but it carried weight. "You told me the hotel was full," she continued. "Twice. Even though many rooms were available. Would you like to explain why?" The receptionist opened his mouth, searching for an answer. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to take walk-ins tonight." Monica raised an eyebrow lightly. "Is that true? Or was it simply easier not to help?" The receptionist hesitated. The second employee looked down again. Monica didn't press them further. She had heard what she needed. She knew the truth already. She stepped back and looked at the phone screen. "Daniel, please stay on standby." "Of course," he replied through the call. Monica placed her phone face down on the counter for a moment and directed her attention back to the staff. "I want you both to step around from behind the counter and join me over here," she said, pointing gently to a quiet area near the lobby seating. They exchanged a confused glance but followed her instructions. They walked out from behind the desk and stood near her, unsure of what would happen next. Monica led them to a small, open space near the lobby chairs so they weren't blocking arriving guests. She wanted this conversation to be private enough to stay respectful but clear enough to be understood. Once they were standing together, she spoke again. "Listen carefully. This moment is important not just for me, but for both of you. You're not being judged for one small mistake. You're being held accountable for a pattern of behavior that has been affecting many guests." The two employees listened closely. When guests come to a hotel, Monica explained, they're not just looking for a room. They're looking for comfort, safety, kindness. They're away from home. They're trusting us. She paused. And today, that trust was broken. The second employee's voice shook slightly. Can we fix this? Monica studied them for a long moment. She had always believed people deserved chances, but she also knew that responsibility was not something to be taken lightly. That depends, she said softly. Honesty is the first step. Growth is the second. And consistency is the third. Both employees nodded quickly, their eyes hopeful, though nervous. Monica picked up her phone again and looked at the screen. Daniel and the executives waited quietly. She spoke into the microphone. I'm going to need reports on all recent staff interactions, as well as new guidelines for guest treatment. We'll need retraining, and we'll need a new schedule for team support. Understood, one of the executives replied. Monica looked back at the two employees. Right now, I need you both to take a short break in the staff lounge. I want you to think about the kind of service you want to give and how you can improve. We will talk again shortly. They nodded and walked quietly toward the staff area. Monica watched them go, feeling neither angry nor disappointed, just determined to bring her hotel back to the level it deserved. She turned and faced the lobby. Guests continued checking in. A few employees from housekeeping passed by with warm greetings. The hotel still had good people, good energy, and good potential. It just needed stronger guidance and clearer expectations. Monica lifted her phone again. Daniel, she said, I'll need you here soon. We're going to make some changes, but I want the changes to be thoughtful, fair, and strong. I'm on my way, he said. Monica ended the call and took a deep breath. She felt calm. She felt grounded. She felt ready. In a few minutes, this hotel would begin a new chapter. A chapter of honesty, kindness, and accountability. And everything was leading toward one final, important decision. The one she would make next. The one that would protect her hotel's future. The lobby felt quieter than before, almost as if the building itself could sense something important was about to happen. Monica stood near the large indoor plant beside the reception area, thinking carefully about each step that needed to be taken next. She didn't act from emotion. She acted from clarity. And right now, her mind was clearer than ever. A few minutes later, the front doors opened, and Daniel walked in. He moved quickly but respectfully. Greeting the staff members, he passed with a polite nod. When he reached Monica, he spoke in a low voice. I got here as fast as I could, he said. How are you holding up? Monica gave a small, calm smile. I'm fine. Thank you. She looked around the lobby again. We just have a lot to fix. Daniel nodded. He understood immediately. He had worked with Monica long enough to know that she was not someone who overreacted. If she said something needed to be fixed, it truly did. Before they continued, a couple of guests approached Monica, not knowing she was the owner. They asked a simple question about the dining area. Monica answered with kindness, guiding them with her usual warm tone. After the guests walked away, Daniel couldn't help but notice the difference between her behavior and what he had observed earlier from the staff. It's clear we need changes, he said softly. Yes, Monica agreed. Starting today, she motioned for Daniel to follow her. Together, they walked toward the staff lounge where the two front desk employees were waiting. They were sitting quietly, looking uneasy, but respectful. When Monica and Daniel entered the room, both stood up immediately. Monica spoke with her calm, even tone. Thank you both for waiting. I wanted to give you time to think. The two employees nodded, their expressions serious. I'm not here to criticize who you are as people, she began. I'm here to address your role in this hotel. This place was built on kindness, honesty, and care. Guests choose us because they believe they will be treated with respect. She paused for a moment, letting her words settle. When you turn guests away without reason, When you speak without warmth, when you show that you don't care, it affects the entire hotel, and it affects the promise we make to every person who walks through the door. Neither employee spoke yet, but both looked genuinely remorseful. They seemed to understand now that their actions carried weight far beyond a single moment at the front desk. Daniel stepped forward and added, "We have guidelines, training, and expectations. But those only work when people follow them. Guest service is not just a task, it's our mission." Monica nodded. "I believe people can grow. I believe people can learn. But growth only happens when individuals truly want to change." She looked at both employees, one at a time. "Do you truly want to change?" The receptionist took a slow breath. "Yes. I know we should have done better. I understand that now." The second employee added softly, "I want to be better too. I didn't realize how my attitude affected guests." "I'm sorry." Their sincerity felt real. Their voices were steady, not defensive. It was clear this moment had opened their eyes. Monica listened carefully. She was not quick to judge. She wanted to make sure her decision helped the hotel not just for today, but for the future. "Thank you for your honesty," she said gently. "Today, we're not ending your time here, but we are starting something new." 17. Both employees looked relieved but still cautious. "You will enter a training and improvement plan," Monica explained. "You will complete sessions on guest care, communication, and professionalism. Daniel will oversee your progress personally." Daniel nodded in agreement. "This isn't just about learning rules," Monica continued. "It's about rebuilding the attitude you bring to work every day. And if we don't see improvement, we will have to reconsider your position." The employees nodded quickly, fully understanding. "We won't let you down," the receptionist said. Monica offered a small smile. "I hope so. Because I want you to succeed. And this hotel needs people who truly care." With that, she dismissed them respectfully, allowing them to return to their duties with a fresh perspective. They left the lounge quietly, but their steps seemed lighter, almost as if they had been given a second chance they didn't want to waste. After they left, Monica and Daniel walked toward the center of the lobby. The evening had grown calmer, and fewer guests were moving around. The peaceful atmosphere gave Monica a moment to breathe, but she wasn't finished yet. "Daniel," she said, turning toward him, "we need to hold a short staff meeting with everyone on shift. And I want it to happen now, before more guests arrive." Daniel nodded. "I'll gather them. Over the next few minutes, housekeeping staff, maintenance workers, servers from the small cafe, and the front desk team gathered quietly in the lobby. They formed a circle near the couches, some looking curious, others anxious. Meetings called by the owner, especially unexpected ones, usually meant something important. Monica stepped into the center of the group, her posture strong but warm. When she spoke, her voice carried a calm confidence that filled the room. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," she began. "I know you are busy, and I appreciate your time." Everyone listened closely. "I came here today without announcing my visit because I wanted to see the hotel the way guests experience it," she said. "And what I saw was not what this hotel represents." Some employees exchanged quiet glances. "This hotel started with love," Monica said. "I built it from a place that needed care. I restored every room with hope. And I hired people with the belief that they would carry that same hope into their work." She paused, her expression kind but serious. "Somewhere along the way, the heart of this hotel began to fade. Not from everyone, but enough that guests have felt it." She looked around at each person. "That is something we cannot allow," she continued with gentle honesty. "This is not a place where people should feel ignored. This is not a place where guests should feel like they're a burden. This is a place of comfort, welcome, and peace. And we must return to that." The room was quiet, but the silence wasn't tense, it was thoughtful. "I'm not here to point fingers," Monica said. "I'm here to remind you of your purpose. Your role here matters. Every smile matters. Every greeting matters. Every small act of kindness shapes how guests feel. Several staff members nodded, a few with soft expressions of understanding. We will begin fresh training, she continued. Not because we want to criticize anyone, but because we want to grow together. We want to rebuild the warmth that makes this hotel special. Daniel stepped forward. We'll support you through every step. We're a team, and we want every one of you to succeed. Monica smiled gently at the group. And I want you to know something important. I'm not disappointed in you as people. I'm disappointed in the habits that formed. Habits can be changed, attitude can be rebuilt, and together, we can bring this hotel back to its best. The employees looked relieved, grateful, and ready to do better. Monica ended the meeting with a soft, encouraging message. Let's make every guest feel welcomed. Let's bring kindness back into every corner of this hotel. And let's do it together. The staff members quietly applauded. Not loudly, but with genuine respect. They walked back to their duties with a renewed sense of purpose. The atmosphere in the hotel felt lighter now, almost as though a fresh energy had just entered the building. Daniel turned to Monica. You handled that beautifully, she smiled. People deserve guidance, not judgment. And sometimes, a second chance is exactly what someone needs. Monica looked around the lobby one last time. A young couple laughed as they checked in. A guest thanked a staff member who kindly helped with their luggage. Warm smiles began returning naturally, as if the hotel itself was breathing again. For Monica, this moment wasn't about discipline. It wasn't about authority. It was about restoring the heart of the place she loved. And as she stepped outside into the soft evening air, she felt proud not because she had corrected something wrong, but because she had helped guide it back to what was right. The hotel was ready for a new beginning, and so was she.